I'm Ken Rollins. Have you ever wondered about small town politics and how dirty they can get? Let me tell you about how dirty it has gotten for me. It will take me a minute to set up the background scenario, so please bear with me. This will be a longer video. Please invest a few minutes of your time to learn about the truth regarding the malicious attacks by the Kennebec County Times and candidate Brian Smith. You will learn that I can prove that I am not the one lying. Further, that the accusation that I am conducting a malicious and misleading campaign is an accusation more accurately leveled at others, including the Kennebec County Times and Brian Smith. I have been brutally smeared by individuals in the local power system, including the small town newspaper, the Times, as a result of daring to question those currently in power. As you learn, I have been attacked by the Times and Brian Smith. In various ways, I've been accused of being a liar about election issues. Please go to Facebook and then search Ken Rollins for Kennebec Sheriff. On that site, you will see information and videos that detail just a small part of the information and proof of the slander, misrepresentations, and outright lies from the good old boys and girls club that tries to control the operations of the Mora area. I am a 30-year veteran law enforcement officer, and I am running for sheriff in Kennebec County. In the August primary, I was badly beaten by Brian Smith, who is the current chief deputy sheriff. In recent weeks, my campaign has gained great momentum. Many local people have recently felt that I was in position to win the race on November 4th. I have raised the issue of a high-profile matter of a criminal sexual conduct case. This case involves an adult male family member of a former chief deputy sheriff of the county. This case was and continues to be a case of extreme conflict of interest for the Kennebec County authorities. According to government documents, it involved a female victim who was only 13 years of age when this began in September 2010, and it continued until May of 2012. The defendant routinely supplied alcohol and cigarettes to the victim and at least one other equally young female. The investigator described this as grooming-type behavior. It was not charged or prosecuted for 22 months after the investigation was completed. Was it forgotten, ignored, or hidden? You decide which word fits. There have been numerous other conflict of interest cases involving the same family over the last 8 years, as well as other equally questionable cases. Each of them have resulted in a failure to act, or an outcome, or procedure that has caused many questions about various involved authorities. Many people have encouraged the Times to investigate and report on these incidents. For the most part, their concerns have been completely ignored by the Times. In this sex abuse matter, the investigation was properly referred to another agency, the Anoka County Sheriff's Department, which did an excellent investigation. That agency sent the completed investigation file to Chief Deputy Brian Smith on May 24th, 2012. It was forwarded on May 31st, 2012 to the office of then Kennebec County Attorney, now Governor appointed as Judge Amy Brosnahan. The investigating officer expressly requested that Chief Deputy Brian Smith obtain and provide him with copies of the expected criminal complaints. Anoka County officially closed the investigation on May 28, 2012. The completed investigation with tremendous evidence and probable cause then languished invisibly in Kennebec County for 22 months. Most individuals in the justice system agree that such conflict of interest case should be referred to an unbiased prosecutor. If not referred, it certainly, at the least, should have been promptly charged by Brosnahan. Instead, nothing was done. I have challenged Brian Smith to explain why this was forgotten, ignored, or hidden for all that time. I have stated that Smith had an obligation not only to Anoka County but also to the public, and especially to the young female victim, to at some point question the county attorney about her complete lack of action in this matter. Smith, the Times, and Kennebec County Attorney McFadden have all deflected and misrepresented the issue by saying that I am claiming that the Sheriff's Department mishandled the investigation. They have declared that it would have been improper for Smith to involve himself in the investigation. I have never in any manner questioned the investigation or implied that Smith should have involved himself in it. Some weeks ago I provided the Times with more than 150 pages of government documents concerning this matter. I suggested that they had an obligation to investigate the amazing failures of the Kennebec County authorities. It just makes sense to ask the county attorney, sheriff, and chief deputy how this 22-month failure could occur as anything other than as a deliberate act by one or more of them. It seems impossible to believe that all three just forgot this matter. As is typically the case, the Times has not taken any action to possibly expose impropriety by the local authorities. Why? What do you think? I have asserted and still do that Smith should have questioned Brosnahan's failure to act. I assert that if Smith discussed this with Brosnahan and she still did not act, he should have gone to Sheriff Schultz with his concerns. In the event that doing so did not produce proper action, Smith, as a law enforcement officer, had obligations. Then, in light of the extreme conflict that existed in not only this matter, but also the history of questionable actions regarding incidents involving other family members, Smith clearly should have considered what may have been indicated by Brosnahan's ongoing and apparently intentional failure to act. This brings us to the current cause of the explosion of the very dirty and malicious attack by Smith and the Kennebec County Times, as well as others. I have been attacked and accused of running a malicious and dirty campaign. Those attacks stem from the following circumstances. I recently approached a number of other officers of various ranks and departments about the issue of Smith's lack of action for 22 months. I described in detail the background of this matter to these officers. I then asked what they felt an officer in the position of Smith should have done. The many officers used various words and expressions, but all stated that Smith had a clear obligation to take action in regards to the ongoing failure of the county attorney to act. Further, if his efforts to cause proper action by Brosnahan failed, he had an ongoing obligation to take additional steps. Those steps, eventually, if needed, should have led to outside agencies being asked to perform inquiries, as it would have been a conflict for him to do so. I asked the officers if I could quote them. Most declined, and I have not quoted them. However, I do have the names of individuals that I can confirm that I spoke to and respected their desire not to be quoted. 4 officers were willing to be quoted. 2 are retired, and 2 are employed by agencies. Using different words, the officers' quotes indicated that they felt Smith and the county attorney did have an obligation to act. A few, possibly a dozen or so, flyers with those quotes were disseminated to members of the public. The next morning it came to my attention that a close personal friend of Brian Smith's, who is a high-ranking official in the city government of Cambridge, Minnesota, had apparently complained about the chief's quote regarding her friend Brian Smith. I learned that the chief had called the Kennebec County Times office to ask the editor not to print anything regarding this quote. I also was informed that the Times did not intend to do so. A day later it came to my attention that the matter had sharply escalated. The Times did a highly inflammatory story that claimed, amongst a great many things, that my colleague had said that I had misled him and that he had not agreed to be quoted. The story went on to say that the chief was livid about my actions. The Times story went into great detail more on a similar note. The Times editor, Wade Weber, was also truly scathing when he published his opinion column. He declared that my campaign is the most negative, malicious, and misleading campaign he has ever witnessed locally. Lieutenant Sam Olson of the Big Lake Police Department apparently was also in trouble with his boss for his quote. At this time, it is important to state that I have a variety of forms of proof about my permission to quote these 4 officers. There are recordings, texts, and other information. You don't have to believe that, but it is still true and will definitely become part of the public record as the result of the numerous public and libelous assertions of Brian Smith and the Kennebec County Times. I understand the unfortunate situation that has developed has caused these 2 fine law enforcement colleagues to have to duck and cover as they are attacked by high-powered political figures. It is unfortunate that they have been forced to feel that the need to take inappropriate actions to avoid serious disciplinary actions or even loss of their jobs and the ability to care for their families. The Times newspaper has aggressively pursued the denials of the 2 officers who have bosses pressuring them. However, the Times has not even contacted the two quoted officers who do not have bosses pressuring them. Those officers have not denied their quotes. This is rather telling, don't you agree? I contacted and spoke to editor Wade Weber to arrange a meeting with him, the purpose of which was to provide him with background proof of the inaccuracies and wrongful nature of his paper's outrageous and libelous attacks on me, which many see as a blatant intention to affect the outcome of Tuesday's election. He was rude and completely unwilling to discuss the fact that I could prove to him that he was wrong or even to check his information. He would not consider the fact that there were obvious and serious reasons for the denials that he so eagerly seized and used in his efforts to destroy my election possibilities and me. Please join me in saying no to Wade Weber's inappropriate attempt to brainwash you, the voter, into causing Tuesday's election outcome to be what he so clearly wishes it to be. Please forward all relevant videos and documents to as many people as you can, regardless of where they live. There are only days to overcome the poison that Weber and Smith have attempted to put into the minds of you and others in this last-minute smear attack. Thank you for your attention and concern about this matter. I'm Ken Rollins, and I approve this information.